So the respiratory system, it has proximal part and the distal part, or we can say it has proximal respiratory tract and distal respiratory tract. The function of proximal respiratory tract is that it helps in conduction of air, while the distal respiratory tract, it helps in the gaseous exchange. The proximal respiratory tract helps in the conduction of air, while distal respiratory tract, it helps in the gaseous exchange between blood and air. Now there are different parts of proximal and distal respiratory tract. To make it brief, the proximal respiratory tract starts from the nose, nasopharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, terminal bronchioles, respiratory bronchioles, and when the respiratory bronchiole starts, the distal respiratory tract starts, and it is respiratory bronchiole, alveolar duct, pulmonary atria, alveolar sac, and pulmonary alveoli. So we will discuss in detail later on the different parts of the respiratory tract. Here we just need to know that the proximal respiratory tract helps in the conduction of air, while distal respiratory tract helps in the gaseous exchange between the air and the blood. Now, we will be discussing the respiratory epithelium. Now, the respiratory epithelium, it consists of the pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium, which is ciliated. The respiratory epithelium is pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium, and that is ciliated. Now, this pseudo-stratified columnar epithelium, it consists of different kind of cells. So the number of first cells, they contain the columnar cells, 30% columnar cells, which has got motile cilia. We've already discussed what is motile cilia. So 30% cells are columnar cells which have got cilia. Now then the 30% cells are the goblet cells, which are unicellular mucus glands. Now these goblet cells are also present in the small intestine and the large intestine. So you need to remember the goblet cells are unicellular mucus glands, and they are 30% in population. The 30% population, the other 30% populated cells are the basal cells. And the basal cells, what do? They are the stem cells for the rest of cells. It means that from the basal cells, the goblet cells are formed, the columnar cells are formed, the other cells, which we will discuss later on, they are formed from the basal cells. Now, these basal cells, they rest on the basal lamina, but they do not reach to the surface. The 5% cells are the brush cells. They are called the brush cells because they have got the microvilli, They are slender columnar cells and they function as sensory receptors. They the, the nerve endings and or the brush cells. The other 5% cells are the small granule cells, and these small granule cells, they are also called Kulchitsky cells. They are like basal cells. As I already told you that the basal cells are present in the respiratory epithelium. The difference between the basal cells and the small granule cells is that in the small granule cells there are membrane bound granules, while in the basal cells there are no membrane bound granules. These small granule cells, they are the part of the diffuse neuroendocrine system, and you will discuss the we will discuss the new diffuse neuroendocrine system in detail in the second year. So you just need to remember the name, that the small granule cells, they are the part of the diffuse neuroendocrine system. So these were the different kind of cells. I would repeat it again, that the respiratory epithelium, it is pseudostratified columnar ciliated epithelium, and they contain different kind of cells. 30% cells are the ciliated columnar cells. 30% cells are the goblet cells, which are they do not reach to the nerve endings, the sensory nerve endings. The small granule cells, they are 5% in population. They are also called Kulchitsky cell. And the difference between basal cells and small granule cells is that it contains membrane bound granules, and it is the part of the diffuse neuroendocrine system. So this was all about the respiratory epithelium, which consisted of 5 different kind of cells. Now the respiratory system starts from the respiratory system starts from the nose, and in the nose, first of all, there is the nasal cavity, and in the nasal cavity, first of all comes the vestibule of the nose, the the first outer structure of the nose, which is called vestibule. This vestibule is composed of skin, vibrissae, and vibrissae. Vibrissae are short hairs which you can feel in your vestibule. So it consists of skin, vibrissae, and sebaceous and sweat glands. The nasal cavity starts with vestibule, and the vestibule consists of skin, vibrissae, the sweats, and sebaceous glands. Then the nasal cavity proper starts. In the nasal cavity proper, it consists of the respiratory epithelium and olfactory epithelium. Just to remind you again that the majority of the conducting part of the respiratory system, it consists of the respiratory epithelium, and that respiratory epithelium is pseudostratified columnar epithelium ciliated, which consists of 5 different kind of cells we already discussed in our today's lecture. So the nasal cavity is composed of the respiratory epithelium and the olfactory epithelium. Now, this nasal cavity proper, it consists of respiratory epithelium, we already know, and then from outer to respiratory epithelium, there is the lamina propria. So the lamina propria is the loose connective tissue which consists of the tubuloacinar glands. Which tubuloacinar glands? Simple tubuloacinar glands, and these glands are seromucous. What does seromucus means? Sero means watery secretions, mucus means mucus secretion. So these simple tubuloacinar glands, they are seromucous in nature, and they secretes water, water secretions as well as mucus secretions. If you want to see, this is the simple tubuloacinar gland. Simple, it is simple because only one excretory duct, and then the parenchymal part, both the tubulo and acinar part. That is why the glands in the nasal cavity are simple tubuloacinar glands, which are seromucous in nature. They consist of the blood plexuses, especially the venous plexuses are present over the concha, and more importantly over the inferior concha. These venous plexuses are called swell bodies and cavernous bodies. Now the function of these swell bodies or cavernous bodies is that it prevents the mucosa from the dryness, and this dryness is called desiccation. This dryness is called desiccation. Now I am repeating again that the respiratory, the nasal cavity consists of the respiratory epithelium and lamina propria. The lamina propria is the loose connective tissue which consists of simple tubuloacinar glands, and they are seromucous in nature. They consist of blood vessels all over the nasal cavity, and they compose of the venous plexuses, more importantly over the concha and especially the inferior concha. And these plexuses are called swell bodies and cavernous bodies. The function of these swell bodies or cavernous bodies is that it prevents the mucosa from dryness or the desiccation. Now coming to the olfactory mucosa. As we already discussed, that the nasal cavity consists of the respiratory mucosa and olfactory mucosa. Now, the olfactory mucosa has a bit of variations. First of all, we will discuss the location of olfactory mucosa. The olfactory mucosa lies above the superior concha and over the roof of the nasal cavity, and the upper part of the nasal septum. To make it more clear again, the olfactory mucosa lies above the superior concha and over the roof of the nasal cavity. It is yellowish in color, and the lamina propria has caught glands, but these glands are only serous glands. If you remember, I told you that in the nasal cavity proper, the simple tubulo-alveolar glands, they are seromucous, while here the simple tubulo-alveolar glands, they are only serous in nature, and they have got the smell, they have got the ability of smell sensation. They consist of cells, and first of all, again it is the epithelium is pseudostratified columnar epithelium, which is ciliated. Now this epithelium consists of three important cells, and these are olfactory cells, sustentacular cells, and the basal cells. This pseudostratified columnar epithelium, it consists of three important cells. Number first, olfactory cells, sustentacular cells, and the basal cells. So we will discuss the first of all the olfactory cell. This olfactory cell, it is bipolar neuron. This olfactory cell, it is a bipolar neuron. From here, this olfactory cell, the dendrite arises, and this dendrite then got swelling, and this swelling is called olfactory vesicle. So this is the olfactory cell, this is the dendrite, and by the end of the dendrite or the termination of the dendrite, there is the swelling which is called olfactory vesicle, and from these olfactory vesicles, the cilia arises. Now the cilia of the respiratory epithelium and the cilia of here of the olfactory epithelium, The difference is, the major difference is that these cilia, they are non-motile, while the cilia of the respiratory epithelium, they are motile. I will repeat it again, that this olfactory cell, it is bipolar cell, and from this olfactory cell, what arises? The dendrite arises, and then by the end there is the olfactory vesicle, and from these olfactory vesicles, the cilia arises, and from the other end, because this is bipolar neuron, the axons arises. Now, as we already know that this olfactory neuron, which is bipolar neuron, olfactory cell, they lie between the sustentacular cells. These are the sustentacular cells. The sustentacular cells, they are the supporting cells, and they are columnar cells. You see, they are supporting cells of the olfactory cells. They are columnar cells. You see, they are columnar cells, and they have got the microvilli. The sustentacular cells, or the supporting cells, they have got the microvilli. Now the yellowish color of the olfactory mucosa is because there is yellowish brown pigment which is present in the sustentacular cells. I'm repeating again that the yellowish color of the olfactory mucosa is because of the yellowish brown pigment present in the sustentacular cells. Now, there is the third number of cells, and they are the basal cells. The basal cells are the stem cells for the olfactory cells and sustentacular cells, because olfactory cells and sustentacular cells, they, there is wear and tear, they have limited lifespan. So the basal cells present in the olfactory mucosa, they are the stem cells for the olfactory cells and the sustentacular cells. You see, these are the basal cells, and because of these basal cells, sustentacular cells and the olfactory cells are formed. So before proceeding to the paranasal sinuses, I would like to repeat the olfactory mucosa again. This olfactory mucosa, it lies over the roof of the nasal cavity, superior concha, and the upper part of the nasal septum. I am repeating again that the olfactory mucosa lies in the roof of the nasal cavity, or or the superior concha, and the upper part of the nasal septum. It is yellowish in color. The lamina propria has got glands, but they are serous in nature. They have got the ability of smell sensation. Different kinds of cells are present. First of all, it consists of pseudostratified columnar epithelium which is ciliated, and this pseudostratified columnar epithelium, they contain three important cells. Number first cell is olfactory cell. Olfactory cell is the bipolar neuron which has got axons and dendrites, and the dendrite has got the olfactory vesicle, which is this, and from these olfactory vesicle, 6 to 8 olfactory cilia arises. The difference between the cilia of respiratory epithelium and here in the olfactory epithelium is that it is non-motile. Now, the axon arises from the olfactory cells. The sustentacular or supporting cells support the olfactory cell. They are columnar, and they have got the microvilli. The yellowish color of the olfactory mucosa is because of the yellowish pigment present in the sustentacular cells. Now, the other cells which are important are the basal cells, and these basal cells are the stem cells for the sustentacular and the bipolar cells, or the olfactory cells. Now coming to the paranasal sinuses. Now we already know what is respiratory epithelium and what is the olfactory epithelium. So there is a bit of difference in the respiratory and olfactory epithelium. Now, the paranasal sinuses consist of respiratory mucosa, but their cells are short with few goblet cells and thin lamina propria. I am repeating again that the respiratory mucosa of paranasal sinuses is the same as the respiratory mucosa of the nasal cavity, with a small difference, and the difference is that their cells are shorter in height with few goblet cells and thin lamina propria which attaches to the bone or periosteum of the nasal cavity. Now coming to the nasopharynx. The nasopharynx consists of four distinct layers. The nasopharynx consists of the four distinct layers. Number first layer is mucosa, submucosa, then there is a muscle layer and fibrosa. I am repeating again, the nasopharynx consists of mucosa, submucosa, muscle layer and the fibrosa. As I already told you that the conducting part consists of the respiratory epithelium. So the mucosa consists of the respiratory epithelium except over the area of the soft palate where it consists of stratified squamous epithelium non-ciliated. Otherwise, the epithelium of the nasopharynx is the respiratory epithelium and its lamina propria consists of simple branched tubuloacinar glands and they are seromucous in nature. Now, we discussed the mucosa. Discussing the submucosa is the loose connective tissue. The submucosa is the loose connective tissue. And then from the submucosa, there is the muscle layer, and these muscle layers they consist of the skeletal muscles. The muscle layers it consists of the skeletal muscles. If you remember in the muscle layer, muscularis layer in the stomach and this small or large intestine, that muscle layer was it consisted of smooth muscles, but here the muscle layer is the skeletal muscle. Outer to the muscle layer there is a fibrosa, which is a connective tissue, which is a fibrous connective tissue. Fibrous connective tissue means it consists of the collagen fibers. So the nasopharynx consists of the mucosa, submucosa, muscle layer, and the fibrosa. The mucosa consists of the respiratory epithelium except over the area of the soft palate, which consists of the stratified squamous epithelium. The lamina propria, it consists of simple branched tubuloacinar glands, and these glands are seromucous in nature. Now, the lamina propria also consists of the lymphocytes, and these lymphocytes can be scattered or they can also get aggregated, and especially they get aggregated over the posterior superior part, which is called pharyngeal tonsil. Then there comes the submucosa, which is the loose connective tissue. After the submucosa, there is the muscle layer, which is skeletal, and that is why it is different from the rest of the GIT. In the GIT, the muscle layer is the smooth muscles, and outer to the muscle layer, there is the fibrosa, which consists of the fibrous connective tissue. From the nasopharynx, there comes the larynx. The larynx consists of the mucosa, muscles, and the cartilage. I am, I am repeating again. The larynx consists of the mucosa, muscles, and the cartilages. The mucosa, except over the laryngeal inlet, which consists of the epiglottis and the true vocal cords. epithelium is the stratified squamous epithelium, non-ciliated, non-keratinized, sorry, except over the laryngeal inlet, which consists of the true vocal cords uh, and the epiglottis. The epithelium is the stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized. The rest of the epithelium, it is pseudostratified columnar epithelium, ciliated. I'm repeating again, the epithelium of the larynx is pseudostratified columnar epithelium, ciliated, but only over the laryngeal inlet, which is vocal cords and the epiglottis, the epithelium is the stratified squamous epithelium, non-keratinized. Again, the lamina propria consists of the simple branch tubulo-alveolar glands, and these glands are the seromucus. Then they consist of the skeletal muscles, and they are skeletal muscles. You will discuss these muscles in the second year. After the muscle, they contain the cartilages. The cartilages in the larynx are large and small cartilages. Now, the large cartilages are the, if you focus here, this is the thyroid cartilage, and this is the cricoid cartilage. So the thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, and the most major part of the arytenoid cartilage, they are the large cartilages, and they are the hyaline cartilages. While the small cartilages, they are elastic, and they are corniculate, uniform, and the epiglottis. These are the elastic cartilages. Now, this was all about the this was all about the uh, uh, this was all about the larynx. I think it was sufficient for today's lectures. So if you have any questions, you can ask. Thank you.